Hi, welcome to this CareerWise webinar. The topic today is from Ohel to Sadeh, from the tent to the field, a reference to Yaakov Avinu versus Esav Ish Sadeh. The transition from Beis Midrash to the workplace, the marketplace. I'm going to try to avoid controversy, but I'm a Rosh Kollel for 27 years, learning Baruch Hashem every day. I give shiurim online and in person, and I earn an honest living. And there are going to be people who are going to make this transition. So we're here to help and give you guidance to make that transition with success. So let's get into it. So navigating the transition for success from oil to sadeh. I've had people years ago, they came to me, they were men in their 50s, and they had a proposal to make an investment. Somebody was a currency trader, and he's going to make a lot of money for them because they need to marry off their kids, and they hadn't done anything in the way of parnasa. And I'm like, no, that's a terrible idea. It's a high risk investment. You could lose all your money. You sort of missed the boat. You needed to think about this earlier in your 20s, 30s, or 40s. So we're trying to think about this strategically to make a good plan for life. So the overview, what we'll talk about, the centrality of Limud Torah, right? The whole world exists in the schus of Limud Torah. Baruch Hashem, it's a key component of our Yiddishkeit and your Yiddishkeit, and every Yid has to have a connection to Limud Torah. I have a beautiful lashon from the Ramah called Matat Elokim, a gift from God, versus the anxiety of leaving kollel or yeshiva. So we're going to talk about realistic expectations. I think that's a really key component, is being honest and having realistic expectations of what's going to happen. And then I'm going to give you some practical guidance, how to manage the process. And we'll talk about relationships. The people are going to help you along the way, role models, the people close to you, having a Rebbe, having a Charusa, your wife, children, parents, and so forth. So let's get into it. So the Kol Yaakov. Yaakov is Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim. And I remember someone from the Yeshiva said, God doesn't count how many pages you learned, but the amount of hours you put in. And I don't know if God counts pages or hours, but in Yeshiva, there is a focus on being there. And being in Beis Midrash or being in kollel is something unto itself. And so it's not achievement oriented. You're Yeshiva Halim, you're there in the tent, and that's good enough that you show up. And again, without criticism of kollel lifestyle, there's a lot of people in kollel who aren't doing a lot with themselves. And they're sort of hiding from the challenges of outside that. And okay, I'm also the father of 7 sons, Baruch Hashem. And a bunch of my sons, I have three fully adult sons and a 4th son in college. One of my sons is like studying for Dayanis. He's also a lawyer, so he's on the Beis Din. He's Baruch Hashem putting things together. I have another son who was in kollel, and he's like, this is great, but my goals are really elsewhere. And I have a son who's a tahor and a kli kodesh, learning in kollel, and is really satisfied and loving that, and he's great at learning, and so it's perfect for him. It's unrealistic to think that we're going to have a real lot of children, and all of them are going to stay learning their whole lives. It was never like that. There's no reason that it needs to be like that. But as I said, I'm avoiding controversy. I'm talking to people who have made or are making or considering making this change, and it's a personal decision, and you got to talk to your Rebbe and the people involved, but I'm trying to give helpful guidance. So I'm talking about the distinction, the difference in attitude between Yaakov, Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim, versus Esav. Esav is Ish Sadeh, and he's a hunter. He earns his parnasa by killing animals and eating them. So he can't just show up. He's got to set a trap, and he was a great archer, right? So he would check the animals using his bow and arrow. And if he doesn't catch anything today, he goes hungry. So my point is that the work world is achievement oriented. There are deliverables. There are things you need to deliver. You need to deliver the goods. You need to be there on time. You need to make the sale. You need to use your skills to perform on the job. You can't just show up. So that's a different set of challenges. So that you need to be ready for that. I quote famous Mishnah, Navois Yafet Torem Derech Eretz, Sheyigias Shneim Shakachas Avon, keeps you busy and challenged mentally and physically. There can be a beautiful lifestyle of Torem Derech Eretz. And the other thing I want to add here, sort of in drash, is Hakol Kol Yankev Vayadayim Yedei Esav. My Rebbe taught me this, that when Yaakov got brachas, Vayiten Lecha, he was wearing Esav's fuzzy, he was wearing the goat skins, he was hairy like Esav, his hands were Yadayim Yedei Esav, but it was Yaakov on the inside. So the time that Yaakov is really Shaykh to Olam Haba, and Esav Shaykh to Olam Hazeh. So for Yaakov, a Yid, to have footing in this world, he has to sort of put on Esav's clothes. He has to have Esav's hands. He's got to do stuff. He can't just be pure Yaakov. He's got to masquerade or embrace aspects of himself that are shaykh to Esav in order to get the brachas. And so that's what I think, that you have to be a ben Torah on the inside and the outside, but you have to realize that you're going to be functioning in the world of Esav, and it has its own set of rules. You want to integrate your Torah in derech eretz. They're not a contradiction. I think Rabbeinu Tam and many of the Rishonim, they were merchants and businessmen. Rashi made wine. The Rambam was a doctor. So we have precedent for this. Obviously, Yochanan Sandler and in the time of the Tanaim also. So it's for sure doesn't need to be a stira. It's not binary. It's 1 or 0. I'm either learning in kollel or I'm a noise warp. I'm off the derech. No, we're talking about from Balabatim, okay, B'nai Torah Mamish, who are devoting time to learning. Reasons for making this change. So I also want to talk as the director of our educational programs. We have a program in cybersecurity, and I have a beautiful video of one of our guys, Yitzchak, who he says, we had 4 kids. I was 28 years old, and we didn't have enough parnasa. So I needed to do something very pragmatic. Forget philosophy. I don't have enough shekels to feed my children. And it wasn't coming from somewhere else. So he came to our program and he learned. Today he's a very successful cybersecurity, I guess he's a SOC analyst, and he's doing really well. They've moved and more children, and they're doing great. So I have another guy who teaches in our program. He was learning in the mirror, and he saw our program. And again, he has a beautiful from lifestyle and children and wonderful things based on this yafe, this yofi, shel Torah derech eretz. So parnasa is a good reason. Hechreach lo yiguneh, it's no shame to need something. You need money, you need parnasa. So working, you may have to leave Beis Midrash on a part-time basis at least in order to earn a living. It has to do with a lifestyle. A kollel lifestyle is different than, a balabatisha lifestyle. That could be a reason that a person makes this decision. And one of my sons particularly was anticipated success. He was sort of a born salesman, and he's a manager. He's a doer. He loves to get out and do things. He's gifted in that respect. As a learner, he was so-so, and it wasn't his favorite thing to do. He has a brother that is his favorite thing, so it makes sense. One brother's in kollel and another brother's in business. So these are valid reasons to make this decision. Here I have a gift from Hashem, a gift from God. A lot of people never get to Yoredeya in kollel or at any time. So I want to share, Baruch Hashem, over 27 years in kollel, we did learn Yoredeya. This is in Chelik Gimel, and it's Siman Reish Mem Vav in Yoredeya, and this is Sif Chaf Aleph, and there's a long Ramah there about what should your attitude, your goals, aspirations, and then your lifestyle in order to blend your Torah with your derech eretz. Don't think to get rich. Lo yachshov ha'adam lasoik b'Torah v'liknois oisher v'kavoid im halimud. Ki mi she'mayla machshava zu b'libo eino zoicha lekitra shel Torah. That's not the way to, how am I going to get rich? You may or may not, but that's not the way to acquire keser Torah. Ela yaseh Toraso kva u'malachto orai. Make your Torah the ikar, make your malacha just what you need. Yima'et ba'esek, v'yasuk b'Torah, v'yasir tanuge hazman milibo. Get rid of, I need whatever, the vacation home or the fancy trips or whatever luxuries you might try to get rid of that. That's going to lead you astray, okay? Now, Maila gedoila lemisha misparnes nimaisa yadav. It is a great maila from those who support themselves through their labor, their work. Shenemar yagia kapecha kisoichel ashrecha v'toivlach ashrecha v'olam hazeh v'toivlach l'olam haba. So the Gemara in Bracha says it's greater than hayara shemayim. So there's a great maila in earning an honest living and supporting yourself. I have one of my rebbeim. He says he has a Kabbalah from the Baal Shem Tov like that. It's mefurish in the Shla Kadosh. Here it is in the Shulchan Aruch. So it's good to have a parnasa. You can get into trouble if you don't have an honest living. You may try to get a dishonest living. And Nebech, we have Jews in jail who have made those kind of mistakes. Mikol makom. So a person who can incorporate a job, a parnasa, with their learning, this is midas chasidus. It's not b'diavad. It's midas chasidus umatat elokim, a gift from God. If you're able to balance this Torah derech eretz, a parnasa with your learning, that's called a gift from God. Matat elokim, beautiful words of the Ramah. Ach ein zamidas kol adam. Not everybody could do it. Okay. She'iev shar lekol adam lasok b'Torah v'la'achkim ba v'lisparnis ba'atzmo. So that's why there is such a thing as kollel. And those people who are mamish klei kodesh and they're fully devoted to their learning to be gdoilei Yisrael. So that's great. I'm all for that. But that's also not for everybody who really has this fleish to sit so many hours and learn. There are people, but they're a small percentage of our community. Anyway, I'm not taking a position on kollel working. I'm talking to people that need to make this choice, and I'm trying to provide valuable guidance. So let's go on. Okay. So what do you need to know? How are you going to make this work? What to expect? So there's a myth in Yeshiva and kollel that, as soon as you leave kollel, then I'll be rich. It's not like that. That is false. It's just not so. Most people working are not rich. Hello. But they have an opportunity to earn an honorable living, which is a great schus. It's a matat elokim. It's midas chasidus. Okay, so don't do it because, I'm going to get rich when I leave kollel. No, that's probably not going to happen. Most people don't get rich. Parnas is a process. It takes time, takes persistence. There's going to be, obstacles that you got to overcome. It's not going to go right away. It takes time, which is not days, weeks, or months. It's years, okay? And I would look at my chart here. Wealth accumulation pattern according to age. I got this, from AI. So we're looking at people's adult life from their 20s. In their 20s, and this includes people who went to college or people in yeshiva. So you start at the bottom of the totem pole, no matter what you did. Even if you got a Harvard MBA, but you're still starting at the bottom. There's low income, there's high debt. Okay, if you went to college, especially, you have a lot of debt. If you're coming from kollel, you may or may not have debt, but you're learning. Okay, so you're starting out. In your 30s, your career growth begins. You're getting promotions. You're moving up. You're starting to save money. Your 40s and 50s, this is peak earnings. That's the highest savings power that you have to save for your future, which is very important that you're putting money away for your future. It's also a time you need to maybe start marrying off your kids, bar mitzvahs, weddings, etc. So it's expensive, especially in our community, large families and high expectations. Already in the 60s plus, your income drops off, particularly as retirement. Remember, people live longer today, and so people are living till 90 and so forth. So Esrim, you want to have savings for your old age to be able to enjoy your old age. So you got to work hard until then. You could work longer, maybe into your 70s, but again, it's something to think about. There's Yerusha Geld as you get later on, and so that's also something you could think about. But you have to be realistic. Your parents also are going to live longer to their 90s, Besat Hashem. You're going to, at the end of your life, you're going to be living off what you saved. So you don't want to have to come on to others or stucco or stuff like that. You want to have built up a nice nest egg. So the time to begin thinking about it is in your 20s. And I'm not saying you need to leave kollel then, but you need to think about it at least. You need to make a plan. Because parnas is a process. It's about skills. It's about experience and networking. And those things take years to develop. So you shouldn't think, chick-chock, I'll leave kollel when I'm 32 and I'll make a lot of money. And maybe, but maybe not. Okay. So practical guidance. So here I am, I'm in kollel, I learned the Yeshiva Shemasechtas, now I learn maybe Chulin, Aser B'chalav, Tarayvis, or Nida, or Zvachim, whatever, and I have no idea what in the world I would do if I weren't in Yeshiva or kollel. So you may need career guidance, okay? Which of course we offer career guidance. You're welcome to get in touch with us. I have our website and email at the end of the presentation. But let's say you're gonna do it on your own without career guidance, which is legitimate. So here I have a nice chart of 3 very fundamental questions. What do I like to do? What do you enjoy doing? But what am I good at? And third, very important, what does the market pay for? I just heard today a presentation that Andre Agassi, great tennis star, did not like playing tennis. He made millions of dollars because he was really good at it, but he did not like to do it. But the market paid for it, so he did it. But now that he's, he retired from the game and he can do things that he really loves to do, which is actually an education. So you have to find something that you like to do, you're good at it, and the market pays for it. That's the beginning of your career direction. Think about your personality strengths. Are you an introvert? You study and you love to maybe manage the books, or you're an extrovert, you're a sales guy, okay? And a lot of the sales guys, they don't need my advice. They know how to sell and they'll make a lot of money in real estate, by themselves, which is great. But not everybody could do that. So maybe your brother could do that, or your cousin or your friend at Chavrusa. Oh, he's making a ton of money in real estate. There's a bunch of good from Jews doing that. And that leaves them plenty of time to learn, which is wonderful. So kol kavod, but another personality type or different people, they can't do it. And if they try to do it, it will probably blow up in their face. So you have to know yourself, what kind of stuff you can do and you can't do. So you might want to do a professional training program. And in many cities, I know there's something called PCS. And in England, there are things. So there are many from training programs. And of course, maybe you want to become a welder. Okay, so I don't know if there's a from welding course, but okay, you can take a course with the Goyim to learn how to be a welder if that's what you're going to be good at and love to do and get paid nicely for that. There's online courses. We also offer online courses in cyber and in AI. You may decide you need a college degree. Ultimately, you decide you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer. So again, think big. It takes time, and so you may invest 4 years of education or more, but maybe not. Maybe you don't need all that. A good way to learn about what you like and are good at is do an internship. Ask a plumber if that's what you want to be a plumber. Ask a plumber if you could be on his staff, and maybe he'll pay you minimum wage, or even you'll do it for free for a month or two to see if you really want to do it. Volunteering, again, free work, but a great learning experience. You may have to borrow money to pay for a training course. Is that okay? I'm starting at zero and now I'm getting further into debt. So the answer is, if you have a plan and you're investing in education, it's different than investing for a vacation. That's probably not a good idea. But if you're taking a loan to invest in your education and you're a person with responsibility, achrayus, and you're going to follow it through, so then yes, that's okay to borrow money to get your education, because if you make a cheshbon, let's take the average salary in the field that I'm studying, how many months will it take me to pay back for the educational expenses? You'll see a lot of times it's not that long. It's a year or two. And so that's, again, a reasonable business investment decision that I'm going to borrow some money to pay for a training program. Okay. So again, realistic expectations and building on your own strengths, and then making a plan. What are you going to do in 1, 2, and 5 years? That's the way to begin to think about it. Another key aspect is family support. So your parents may be key players in your life. Maybe they're even supporting you while you're in kollel. Your spouse is for sure important. So you need to talk to these people and see that they're on board. Maybe your parents said, we'd rather support you, for the rest of your life. And, we want you to learn, but you also have to know what you want to do. What are your wife's expectations? Leaving kollel doesn't necessarily need to be a yerida. It's an opportunity for growth. Again, we saw that it's a matat Elokim. It's a gift from God. It could be midas chasidus if you do it right. So you want to talk about it openly, about why you're feeling this. So, why you need to do this. So be honest. Make realistic plans. Maybe your wife is going to have to work for a while you study, but not after you study. Or maybe you're both going to have to work your whole lives because this is really tough to support a family. It's good to have role models. Do you have a parent or a grandparent or uncles or aunts or cousins? Again, it's not that you're going to cut and paste and do exactly what they did, because they did it and were successful based on who they were and their skills and personality, and you have your own. But it is helpful to have role models you can talk to and learn from, And even just in your own mind, oh yeah, Uncle Shlomi, he did that, and so I could do this. And that's a good feeling to have someone to base your thoughts on. And then mentors. Mentors don't have to be friends or relatives. They could be people you meet along the way, whether they're teachers or people working in professions. You could meet them on LinkedIn, and you'll be surprised that a lot of professionals feel very positively about being a mentor. And if you don't overwhelm them and ask for too much of their time, they'll be happy to, send you emails or messages every now and again, and can have some very, very helpful tips and guidance for your career management and your growth along the way. So I talk here about living the dream, living the life. I consider that to be a ben Torah. Again, the whole world exists with chusa Torah, and so Parnasa is not a steer to that. You're meant to make them work together. So kvias itim, having a time, whether you learn daf yomi or you learn halacha or whatever you like to learn, it's important to have sort of a fixed schedule. If it's not every day, but whatever days you learn. But it's not just when I find time, I'll learn, right? That's a Mishnah. Don't say that because you may never find time. That's, tested and true. So it's important to have set times. How you dress and keeping your boundaries. The fact that you're not an avrech anymore and you're a balabas, it's not a hefkervel. You don't have to change, your hat or how you dress, because that will tell a story to other people about how you see yourself. You're still a frum guy who's a ben Torah. And so think about these things that you want to maintain your Yirat Shamayim and your Ernstkeit and the good things about being a ben Torah, your connection to learning. And so use certain boundaries. There's certain things that I never did. I still won't do them, even though I'm not in kollel. Okay, so that's important to maintain certain boundaries. And where are you going to get your chizuk from? Is it from emails or online shiurim or your chavrusa? Your wife is Yereishas Chayo Be'ezrat Hashem. You want to find chizuk wherever you can find chizuk. It could be a person at work who's himself a great example of a frum yid who works. So I also want to mention not to expect immediate success, meaning you may do something and it'll fail. It could be maybe you'll start your own business and that won't go, or you get a job and your boss makes you miserable, or even earlier along. I have a son who he wasn't doing great in yeshiva. That's an understatement. And he started one program to learn stuff and it didn't work. He really wasn't mature enough to really focus. And it's hard to focus, and especially if you have weak background in learning limudei chol. So that's very challenging. So you have to give yourself sort of slack to fail. Now he's on a good track and he's very successful in what he's doing, but it took a long time to get there, a number of years. So you have to realize that success may not come early or fast or easily. You're going to have some blood, sweat, and tears. Okay, that goes back to the curse of Adam Arishon. So we're still stuck with that. That hasn't changed. Success will come, Bezrat Hashem, from effort, from planning, and mainly from Siyata Dishmaya. So I wish you much bracha v'atzlacha. We're here for you all along the way. Here's my email, jartzomid@gmail.com. Our website is careerwise.info. You can send us a message there. We'd be happy to talk to you, to give you career guidance, show you what our courses are, and just to be there as a resource. So thanks for being here. Bracha v'atzlacha b'kol inyanim.